you're feeling isolated or alone this Christmas season, it's not only you, it's me and a bunch of other people all over the country and probably all over the world. So, the purpose of this video is for me to just offer a little bit of encouragement and share the things that I am considering and going through to just keep a positive attitude and keep moving forward. First thing that we need to recognize is that there's not anything wrong with you, there's not anything disjointed or dysfunctional with you feeling like this. Feelings are immaterial. They're not something that we can really measure or quantify, and it's not really up to anyone else to say that it's not within your rights to feel a certain way. But especially in a season like this, that's all about being with other people and shared moments and the Christmas cards with the family photos and all these different things, it can be very easy to feel like an outsider because the social cues that we get from other people tell us, oh, we should be happy this season. We should be around other people this season. And so you can feel like there's something wrong with your brain if you don't feel like that. But first thing is that a lot of those people are faking it. They're just putting on a brave face for social media or even for their social circle in real life. They want to look like they're having a good time. They want to look like they're having a strong end of the year. They're entering 2026 in a positive way. A lot of that is just smoke and mirrors. But even if it's legitimate, they're at a different stage in a different season of their life. And so it's not for them to give any judgment on what you're doing, your feelings. And we can do things to influence those, but at the end of the day, you feel a certain way because of your perception and your experiences filtering the physical reality around you. And that's just a part of life. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing that you need to fix. There's nothing that's broken. It's just that you are in a different stage than they are. And we feel like we should feel this way. We feel like we have an obligation to be happy and with other people and with this beautiful community and fuzzy feelings because everybody else does. But it's just an amplifier, right? You feel this way more than usual because this season in our culture emphasizes those things more than usual. But you might just be in a season where you are isolated and you are alone. And again, there's not anything wrong with that. It's just that you have chosen a different path than other people. And so you are in a different place than other people because you have given different inputs. And therefore, you get different outputs. So maybe you're in a bad spot. Maybe you're a place you don't want to be. But that doesn't mean that it's wrong for you to be there any more than it's wrong for somebody else to be having a great time because, again, they're in a different spot. And what we need to recognize is the difference between should and is, because should takes on two different meanings. The first is arguing for an ideal. It's saying, oh, things should be this way. I would like it if the world reached these end states. But then we also use should to communicate when we think there's something wrong, when we think there's an obligation that isn't being lived up to. And this is where things get confusing because people often think that things should be a certain way when reality doesn't bear that out. Things are the way they are because they are operating how they should. If you put X input to get Y output, then X input should lead to Y output because it does. That is the natural order. And the issue with saying things should be a certain way that doesn't reflect reality is we are trying to insert our own rules for how reality in the world should work instead of playing within the structure and the system that we have no choice but to participate in because we are biological human beings bounded by 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. It's just getting very philosophical, but I hope you understand. The point is, you can talk about the way things should be all day long, and you can say you wish that things were different, but unless you just confront the reality and accept that things are the way they are, you won't have an accurate frame of reference to actually change the inputs that need to be changed to get you to a different output. And so instead of doing anything productive, we end up just bashing our head against a wall and saying, oh, life is unfair. I don't want things to be this way. I wish things were different. And we get so caught in our own heads, we don't actually do anything to move forward. And the beautiful thing about life is, especially if you are watching this right now, you have an insane degree of agency, of access to information, of access to people and connections. We overlook a lot of that because it's very overwhelming. We don't really know how to leverage a lot of them, but the opportunity is there. So you do have the ability to make positive changes in your life. And that's what I'm hoping to instill in part in this video. Another reason that you feel isolated, as we've said, is that you are on a different path and you are in a different season. And it's not reasonable to expect that you being in a different season and different stage of life should give you the same emotional responses as someone in a different stage of life. Because again, different inputs and different outputs. We got that part. But the other thing to recognize is that average sucks. So if you don't like being average, if you don't like what the average person is getting, you have to behave in a way that is not average. The definition of insanity, right, is doing the same thing expecting different results. And so if you are acting the way other people are acting and you're getting the outputs other people are getting, that makes sense. But if you don't want those outputs, you need to be an exceptional person. You have to do exceptional things, which means by definition, you can't be like everybody else. So if you have to sacrifice some holidays, some time with family, things like that, don't do that willy nilly. Be very clear on what the end goal is and the person you want to become and everything like that, but also don't apologize for it because that is the price that it's going to take to get there. And sometimes you just have to knuckle down and embrace that. And so, again, there's not anything wrong with you for feeling this way. You are just probably in a different stage of life in a different season with different challenges before you. And for you to become the person that you ultimately want to be and that you're ultimately made to be, you need to pay a price that a lot of other people aren't willing to take on. And that can mean oftentimes emotional pain and sacrifices and things like this where we do feel lonely and we feel isolated, which again, it's not dysfunctional, doesn't mean you're broken, it means you're different, and that's okay. And what this may mean is just that you are paying a price that is too high for other people, or you're making trade-offs that most other people aren't willing to make. But if you want an exceptional life, that's par for the course, that comes with the territory, so why get upset about it? Now, as far as being isolated and lonely is concerned, any negative emotion that we feel basically serves the same function as a warning light in your car. You have the check engine light come on, the light is not the problem. It's an indicator that there is a deeper issue going on. So, in a similar way, if you are feeling lonely, that is a sign that you are not content, either biologically or emotionally, psychologically, whatever. You are not content with your current situation. All this says, whether you're feeling, anger, frustration, discomfort, loneliness, whatever that negative emotion is, it says something here needs to change. It doesn't necessarily direct you how to change it. It just says something needs to change. Like, for example, you put your hand on a hot stove, you're not going to reason through, oh, I should take my hand off the stove because it's burning my skin off. No, you just jerk, you spasm. It doesn't matter if your hand goes this way or that way or this way. It's probably going to go something like this because that's the most natural motion for your hand to make in that. But it's just an impulse, it's a reaction. Now, if there's somebody standing right behind me, I might punch him in the face accidentally, jerking my hand away, right? Because I'm not thinking through that. Similarly, when you have the warning light of emotions come on, it tells you to make a change. And very often, when we get in these situations of discomfort, the easiest, most natural change for us to make is to retreat back into our comfort zone. But the problem is, that will get you right back to a spot that you probably didn't want to be, which is why you put yourself in a situation to experience that discomfort in the first place. So experiencing loneliness and things like this tells you that you can't stay where you are, you need to make a change. But your only two options are to move back to where you were or forward and to keep going. And that is really the differentiator in a lot of cases between the people that end up doing something great that they're proud of and the people that don't. Because if you just play this game where you meet a little bit of discomfort and you retreat, meet a little discomfort, you retreat back to your comfort zone, you're never actually changing the inputs, so you're not getting different outputs. But if you want to be in a position where you can truly enjoy a holiday, or you can spend time with your friends and family, and you have a circle of people that just lift you up and motivate you, people that want you to truly win and become the best version of yourself, you're only going to be the type of person that attracts that circle and that is worthy to be in those rooms if you earn it. And the only way to earn it is to go through the suck, again, that most people aren't willing to because it's uncomfortable. And it does suck. Again, it's okay for things to suck. It's okay to not like where you are. But make sure that you're pushing toward that thing that you really want to be and not letting it beat you back into lower version of yourself that you are trying to escape. So your two options are to either level up and become a better person or retreat back to who you are. Now, as far as loneliness specifically goes, if you are actually happy with where you are and you just want to be around other people where you want more of that community, there's nothing stopping you from building that. You are truly performing at the level that you want to be. There's that saying, right? If you build it, they will come. Not quite true in a vacuum because there are a million things that people can do. But if you have friends or people in your circle that also are kind of isolated, reach out to them, get something going. Talk on the phone, have a digital or virtual group over, Discord or some group chat or something like that, or whether you build something in person, which is usually the healthiest approach because we are communal beings. We do need to exist in the context of other people, and we have very negative health effects if we are completely isolated from human contact. But whatever that avenue is, you can build that. You can create that community. Just be careful of the people that you're putting into it, that they're not going to be the crabs in the bucket that drag you back to the lower version of yourself, but instead the people that are of the same mind and want to keep improving and becoming something great and becoming more than they are. Because when you get that mastermind in a way, when you get the cooperation of other people that also want to grow and develop, then suddenly it's not just you holding you to those goals, it's everybody helping each other and reinforcing that mentality, which is extraordinarily powerful because you might have up and down days on your own. But if you have an entire group of people that are ambitious and motivated and want to be more, a few people might be having a bad day, but they've got other people in the group that can say, hey man, like, you're better than this. You can't let this stop you. I believe in you. And they're going to help to drag you forward when you might not have done that if it was just you holding yourself accountable. But ultimately, again, either you're going to surrender to the loneliness and retreat back into who you always have been, or you are going to use that as fuel and a reason to double down and go even harder on the things that you're doing. And so the ultimate question that you have to ask is, do you move forward or do you move backward? Because there is no middle ground. If you stay exactly where you are, you're going to continue to feel this loneliness, which again is probably always there. It's just amplified in this season because there is more of an expectation culturally to be around people. And the reason this is top of mind for me is because I am 2,500 miles from home in Las Vegas. I was kind of considering going home for Christmas, but after talking with some family members, I really haven't earned it. And so it sucks. Something I said I was willing to do, and I'm making good on that resolution. And so here I am. So if you're feeling lonely, you are not alone. If you're feeling isolated, it's okay. There's nothing dysfunctional, there's nothing broken about you. It's just the time and place that you are, and you can either use it as fuel to move forward or you can let it drag you backward. But ultimately, you're going to have to make one of those decisions, or again, you're just going to stay in the exact same place. So I hope this has given you some good things to think about this Christmas as we head into 2026 and you're really wondering, like, what's the type of person I want to be. And if you are isolated for a reason that isn't actually moving you forward, again, consider changing that. But be very clear on the price that you're willing to pay and who you want to become, because that's that's the riddle and the point of life. And if you just stay purely reactive and just always, hand off the hot stove without any forethought or figuring out what prices you're willing to pay and what suck you're willing to endure and the discomfort that you're willing to feel, you're going to be scattered and all over the place because we have a million different impulses driving us a million different ways at any given second. So something C.S. Lewis talks about, I believe in the Abolition of Man, is that our desires are not consistent. If you start to satisfy one desire, it is going to continue to demand to be satisfied at the expense of all of your other desires. And so you cannot be purely motivated by or driven and controlled by just what you want to do in the moment. There needs to be some rational structure and ordering of your values so that you actually know, hey, this is worth tolerating, this is not, and then building from there. That being said, thank you very much for watching. I wish you a Merry Christmas, and if you are incredibly lonely, you want someone to talk to, my DMs are open at Gabriel Schickler on Instagram, as well as many other platforms. At Instagrams where I'm most active. I'd love to talk, see if there's anything I can do to help you. But otherwise, up with everything. Thank you again for watching, and Merry Christmas.